I'm with Chris Martenson from peakprosperity.com. Chris, I want to get from you for risk hedge. What keeps you up at night? What are the top 3 risks that really are top of mind concerns? It could be global, it could be local, whatever you want. What worries Chris Martenson?
At the very top of the list is the increasing geopolitical tension we see across the world. And I'm really concerned that it'll lead to some sort of accident. I'm very confused by the super hard line that the United States and NATO is taking against Russia. I'm concerned that we're gearing towards some sort of a confrontation at some point. And that really honestly is the thing that worries me the most, because I've written a number of reports about this. I analyze this fairly deeply. When I say there could be an outbreak of hostilities, most people think, oh, bullets fly, right? It's a kinetic war. But there's so many ways that wars can be fought today, which includes cyber warfare, which could shut down anything from financial operation systems. Grids can be shut down. We don't even know the dimensions of how that could play out. Other trade wars, financial wars. I mean, if Russia gets really ticked off enough, they are the world's #1 exporter of oil, and they could just at some point say, hey, we're totally sorry, world, but we're not exporting anything today. That puts about $300 a barrel oil into the scene, and that collapses a $250 trillion pile of Western debt pretty rapidly. So it's a repeat of 2008, but much worse in terms of the impact of high oil prices. So that's one. 2, I'm really concerned by all of the maneuverings I see by the authorities to basically trap us in the financial system as they want it. So we see the war on cash, but we also see the bail-in provisions. We also see the IMF doing special cross-border capital control rules being snuck in on the backside. We see the BIS doing the same thing. So you add it all up, and you can see that the world's monetary authorities are afraid of contagion, but the solutions they've come up with all are really harmful to the small person, to the individual person. They're designed to, again, reverse Robin Hood. Share the losses widely, and don't do anything about how the profits accumulate very locally to a very small crew of people. It's an old story. And then the last thing that really causes me actual personal grief. I was just up in upstate New York at a place I've gone every summer. I'm 54. I've been there every summer. I've been there in July every summer. I was there 7 nights. I didn't hear one insect noise at night. Not one. And there's all these night noises that I've just grew up with. Just sounds, right? Not one. And when you go over to the ecological side, you discover that at least 40% of the total insect population across a whole swath of North America is just gone. It's just disappeared. And this is true in Europe as well. And it's astonishing. I took this walk, a 2-mile walk with my daughter. We did it 10 times. Saw one butterfly, a little painted lady, no swallowtails, no monarchs, nothing. They're all gone. And I'm reasonably certain it's because a new class of pesticide, the neonicotinoids, we started to dump it on, but that we as humans are redoing what we thought we already learned the lessons from is really frightening to me. But I actually causes me grief that the wildlife that I grew up with is just evaporating. It's like the rapture happened, but surprise, it was insects that got taken, right? But it's that noticeable. And when I start pointing this out to people, I say, just notice how many times you have to wash your windshield for bug strikes. And if you're of an age, if you're over the age of 30 or 40, you will recognize immediately just how few you're hitting.
What can people do about this?
Well, that last one is actually the only thing I know that I have agency in, is I can eat organic food. A lot of people do it because of personal health. I eat organic to save the insects. I do it because if I'm eating organic, I'm not supporting the kind of farming that is destroying the biosphere right now. That's one thing I know how to do. In my own yard and garden, I've planted, I plant specifically to support all of the other pollinators and all the insects and things like that. And then thirdly, just don't be poisoning stuff, really. Just don't. If you go to Home Depot and you buy a nice azalea and you look at it, there's a little sign in there, they've been treated with neonicotinoids. Let me tell you how, this is something people need to know. This is like if you ever saw a kernel of corn and it's got a little pink coating on it. That's neonicotinoids usually, and you plant it, and it's so toxic that the seed, as it's growing, absorbs enough from that outer coating that when the plant is fully grown, any insect that eats it dies immediately, because there's that much poison inside the plant system at that point in time. The stuff is water soluble, it's biopervasive, it doesn't break down, it accumulates, it's just awful. And we knew this as early as 2008. Obama decided to study it some more. They just did their big release of studies in 2015. And it was horrible, and they said we should study it some more, right? So
meanwhile, it's being used?
Yes, being used.
Wow.
Yes, all across. And when you track where the insect populations have been destroyed, and you overlay that with a map of neonicotinoid use, they're perfect. They just sit right on top of each other. So again, how is it that we are at this place? Like, this was Silent Spring, Rachel Carson, 1960s kind of environmental stuff. Like, we already know how not to do this, but that we're doing it again says that Syngenta, Bayer, and Monsanto's need for a few extra bucks of profit supersedes anything else that we might care about in this story. And so, you know, my big offering to the world, the crash course, we track 3 E's: the economy, energy, the environment. Yeah, I spent a lot of time in the economy, and I think people need to know about energy, but the environment is a really critical part of this story, has to be included. And if you put all 3 in a spot, it just says we have to change. So that keeps me up at night is, how do I talk to people so that we can not just be bummed out about this, but we can actually do something. And what people can do is change their eating patterns. If they have the chance, they can grow stuff outside, but they need to understand what's happening, because here it is again.
Where can people go to learn more about this?
At peakprosperity.com, we talk about this stuff all the time. Find the crash course or the accelerated crash course, puts all 3 E's in one spot. That's the problem definition. And then Prosper is our book, which is the solution space. Here are the 8 forms of capital. If you build these up, you are part of the solution. And so those are the 2 pieces we put together.
Chris Martenson, thank you.